Am I the asshole for not letting my girlfriend go to an event because of the clothes she chose to wear? My boss threw a charity party to raise money to fund research projects for a rare disease. I won't be giving any details just in case someone I know sees this. Many of the guests were very important influential people in my city and in my field of work, and obviously my coworkers were also there. It was a very formal event. Dress code was white tie and everything. I, 27M, invited my girlfriend, 25F, as my +1. We have been dating for 1 year and I never had any issues with the way she dresses. I would never tell her how to dress, but then this unfortunately happened. We don't live together, so I got ready and drove to her house. I saw she was wearing a very tight, short black leather skirt with one of those shirts that are kinda open in the middle. I don't know how to best explain it, but the cleavage goes really low and it's a little loose on the sides. Of course she looked great. If we were going anywhere else like a club or a restaurant I wouldn't even think twice about it, but we were going to a very formal charity event. When she got in the car I asked if she forgot it was a white tie event, and she was like, "No, why? Is there something wrong with my outfit?" So I said that it was not appropriate for the occasion and asked if she could change it. She was very offended. I told her I totally understand why she would be offended, but explained that this was a very formal charity event and I couldn't show up with her wearing that outfit, especially with my boss and coworkers there. She got so angry and refused to change her outfit, saying I was being sexist. I tried to explain it one more time, but she kept saying I had to accept it or she wouldn't go with me, so after a lot of arguing I said she would have to stay home then. I went to the party without her and we haven't been talking because she wants me to apologize and make it up for her. I really like this girl, but I also don't think I'm in the wrong here. She went partying with her friends that night and she obviously told all of her friends about what happened. They all think I am sexist and they keep commenting petty things on my social media posts, and recently even her brother has been threatening me. Maybe I was sexist and I don't realize it. Am I the asshole? Edit. Since a few people have asked. Yes, I did tell her it was white tie as soon as I got the invitation and asked if she'd want to go with me, but no, I didn't explain to her in detail what exactly white tie means. I assume she knew, so maybe that was my mistake. I did explain to her in the car when I asked if she could change, but she was already too offended and wouldn't listen. Not the asshole. Events have dress codes. That is a hard truth. She could have cost you your job. Not the asshole. The event host set the dress code, not you. Your girlfriend made a deliberate choice to dress in opposition to the dress code, so she didn't get to go. You don't owe her anything, not an apology, and certainly not some making up for her fuck up. Not the asshole. 25 is old enough to understand that white tie is formal and she got it wrong. As a female myself, not the asshole. Dress codes are dress codes. You weren't being sexist at all for asking your girlfriend to dress for a white tie event rather than a "let's go out drinking and partying" event. And this is your job. You want to give a good impression, and obviously she didn't seem to care. The fact she's posting with her friends and brother on your social media really tells me she doesn't get it. Not the asshole. Not only was she aware of the dress code, but it was also a work event. What she was wearing was not appropriate for even just a simple work event, let alone one specified as white tie. White tie event does not mean miniskirt and low-cut shirt. Not the asshole. From the title I'd never guess I'd be saying this, but not the asshole. Not the asshole. Work events are work events. They call for a bit of caution with dress selection. An outfit can be fun and funky and sexy, and still fit the tone of the occasion. And you deserve to have your partner respect that your ability to progress in your career will always depend in part on your ability to form part of the employer's public face. Am I the asshole for forcing my vegan views on my friend's child? I, F25, decided to become vegan at the beginning of this year. I watched Dominion and just sat there crying the whole time pretty much, so decided I can't knowingly pay for animals to be treated like that anymore. Since then I've been doing really well and I feel a lot better. I cook a lot of my own food, usually stews, curries, chili, and various other meals. My friend and her 6-year-old came round my house for a catch-up. The child asked if they could have something to eat, so I offered to make him a sandwich and listed off some of the options in my house: peanut butter, jam, yeast extract, etc. He asked for ham. I explained that I don't keep meat in the house as I don't eat it, so I wouldn't be able to make him a ham sandwich. He then started asking me why I don't eat it, so I explained that to make ham they have to kill pigs and I don't agree with killing animals for food. He got really upset and started crying and asking his mom why she feeds him dead animals, and my friend got really annoyed at me for telling him where food comes from. They left pretty quickly and my friend texted me later on calling me all sorts of names and telling me I shouldn't push my extremist views on her child who now is refusing to eat meat. Maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut, but I feel like children have a right to know and understand what it is they're eating, and I only spoke about it because he was interested and asked me. So am I the asshole? I would just like to add some info that keeps coming up. All I said was exactly what was written in the post. I didn't go into graphic detail about what happens to animals. His mum was present for the entire conversation and made no input until he started crying. I would also like to add that some of you seem to think I was trying to convert this child to veganism. I'm not preachy and I don't tell people what to eat. I just answered a question honestly and maybe a little too quickly without thinking about who I was talking to. Not the asshole. People, and yes kids too, should know where their food comes from. You didn't force any views onto the child. You explained you don't like eating dead animals. I'm mixed on this. This feels like a you should go ask your mom question. Just like if a kid asked where babies come from or who is God. I don't feel like you were in the wrong, but I feel like you were in the wrong lol. Your choices are not wrong, but kids are so impressionable. As a 25-year vegetarian I have been in this position. If a kid asks I don't go into detail. Usually, what foods do you not like? Broccoli? That's how I feel about meat, I just don't like it. Not my place to tell how the sausage is made, that is a discussion with parents when they are young and can't grasp the realities of factory farming. When they are older and more mature, able to make decisions about their diet, then it is more appropriate. You are the asshole. You are the asshole, but a soft one. I've seen much worse on this thread. While within your right to explain why you don't have meat, you didn't have to fully explain why you don't eat meat. It is not up to you to explain the hard truths of the world to someone else's 6-year-old. This would be like telling the child there is no Santa Claus, and handing him back to let the parent deal with the fallout from your actions. As an adult you could have gone about it differently than the cold hard truth of the matter. He's 6 years old, he needs go get a basic grasp on how the world works. That ham comes from animals can't be provoking in any way. And #X200B. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. By 6 years old the kid should definitely know where meat comes from. I don't remember a time when I didn't know. This is an unnecessary thing to shelter a kid from. I'm kinda gobsmacked that so many people are saying 6-year-olds don't and shouldn't know where meat comes from. Was his mum there when he asked why you don't eat ham? If this was something she actively didn't want him knowing about, then it's kinda on her to either jump in and guide the conversation or let people know not to talk about it. It doesn't sound like you went into unnecessary detail or anything, so I'm going with not the asshole regardless. Not the asshole as long as it was an age-appropriate explanation. I mean, many farmer relatives here, so I'm a callous meat-eater since a very young age, but I do feel that sometimes people over-shelter children from the world. Am I the asshole for moving out without informing my roommate and possibly causing him to lose the place? First, I would like to inform you that I am on the autism spectrum. If you are going to use sarcasm in your comments, please label it, as I have difficulty distinguishing it even while written. Also feel free to give it to me straight. I am not a fragile person. I, 22M, have been living with a roommate for close to 5 months now. I am not on the lease. The rent and utilities are too much for my ex-roommate to handle on his own. I have a tic, you could say. I count. And by that I mean I count steps, stairs, light posts, sips, bites of food, pillows. It helps me cope with the stimulation of the world. When I moved in I made it clear to my then roommate that he was not allowed to touch my food. I meal prep. Since 1. I can't eat anything I or my family didn't cook, and 2. While cooking I tend to count the individual pieces of food. Think how many chicken chunks, how many pieces of vegetables. And if while eating the numbers don't match I tend to get overwhelmed. He respected that for the first couple of months, then he started stealing bites. It stressed me out and I would talk with him. At first he used to deny it, then he apologized and promised to never do that again. A couple weeks later he would do so again. 5 days ago I got home after a very stressful day and took out a container of strawberries. When I got the end of it, it was 3 strawberries short. I had a meltdown. The first in more than 4 years. After I managed to calm down and feel better I called my parents and asked to move back in while looking for another place. Packed my stuff and was out by the next day. I did not inform him of my moving. And he had an upfront month's rent, so I did not need to give him anything. I actually gave up 3 weeks of rent. He did not even know I moved out until today, and he called me panicked about his situation. I told him that he was bad for my mental health and I will no longer be living with him and I am blocking him from everywhere after we hang up. He called me an asshole and told me that he will become homeless because I couldn't spare 3 measly strawberries. I am bad with human interactions and judging situations accurately, so am I the asshole in this situation? Not the asshole for 2 main reasons. 1. You're not on the lease, therefore have no legal reason to give them any notice etc. 2. From what you've said, you've informed him of conditions you need to be met in order to live together happily. And he has not maintained that, which is not acceptable. Therefore you have every right to move on and find somewhere which meets your needs. You sound as if you have some fairly specific debilitating tics. He was aware of this, and still took actions that he knew would exacerbate them. You don't need to stay in a situation that is harmful to your mental stability. However, it is contingent upon you as a grown functioning adult to act like one and when breaking an agreement, written or verbal, to inform the other party. You should have informed your ex-roommate immediately that you had moved rather than waiting for him to figure it out. Hey, fellow Spectrum peep here. While I think everything you did was legally correct, since you weren't even officially renting, if I understood that right, and made a good decision caring about your health, I think you should have at least left a note or message to your roommate about leaving. Leaning towards everyone sucks here looking at it all though, since I really get your struggle too. But if we're just judging you leaving without any notice, you acted like an He is a lot worse than you, but you should have let him know you would be moving. The fact that you decided to move after he continually disrespected you is 100% understandable. Not the asshole. He was disrespecting you by stealing your food after you told him not to steal your food anymore. He was crossing your boundaries and lied to you about many things. Lastly, he was affecting your mental health and well-being. It's good you moved out of there. He seemed very toxic to be around. You were justified in moving, but not leaving a note was petty. And I, compassionately, hope you have some sort of therapy because the way you're living now sounds debilitating. He needed to respect your requirements. You were there for 5 months, there's no reason you couldn't have said, I'm moving out. A text takes 5 minutes at the very most. Not the asshole. You set clear boundaries and your ex-roommate crossed them multiple times. You even explained why you had those boundaries. He only has himself to blame. Am I the asshole for being weirded out by my mother's pregnancy gift for me? I am 20 weeks pregnant with my first child. Recently, my mom gave me a pregnancy gift that was an old picture I drew for her when I was around 5. It's a disturbing picture, honestly. I don't remember drawing it, but my mom used to tell me all of the time that one time I got upset with her and I went in my room and drew a picture of her where she was supposed to be deceased and I wrote, "I wish this was mommy," under the stick figure that was supposed to represent her. Very disturbing, and like I said, I have no recollection of ever even doing it, but I still feel bad for the absolute menace my 5-year-old self was. Anyway, my mother gifted me the picture after keeping it for 20+ years and told me it was to prepare me for what to expect. Honestly, I didn't want the picture. I understand it's my picture, but it does disturb me, and so I told my mom that I think she should keep it since she has for all these years, and she just asked why? I explained that it made me uncomfortable and she said, "Well, don't you think I was uncomfortable too? I held on to this all these years so you could have it and see what it's going to be like." Gosh, I can't tell if it's the pregnancy hormones making me extra sensitive, but I really feel so uncomfortable about this and I don't really appreciate it. I think right now just wasn't good time maybe. Or maybe it's never a good time, I don't know, but I have stored the drawing away. I showed my husband before though and he was also a little weirded out. Not by the picture, but about my mom giving it to me. Am I the asshole here? Well, don't you think I was uncomfortable too? I held on to this all these years so you could have it and see what it's going to be like. So basically, she's saying that you hurt her all that time ago, so she's been saving up all these years so she can hurt you. As thought the meanness of an angry little kid is in any way equal to the calculated hatred it must have taken for a grown-ass adult to save up that much hate for 2 decades so she could hurt you, too. Not the asshole, and maybe your mom isn't toxic, but this sure makes her look that way. Don't give it back, burn it, and don't store the hate like she did. Not the asshole. Your mom sounds like she holds a ridiculous grudge over this picture. You were 5. It should have just gone in the bin. Not the asshole. Your mom is an absurdly petty person to hold resentment over a child's drawing for 20+ years. Anyone who's worked with children knows that kids do this kind of thing all the time because they don't know how to express their emotions and don't actually understand the finality of death, and a sane person would dismiss it instead of keeping it for 20 years. Not the asshole. You weren't a menace of a child. That's normal. You were a child, you had some feelings to express and you drew a picture. What's not normal is an adult holding a grudge against their child for years, keeping a picture and then using it against their now adult child. Your mum is a child, while you've apparently grown up. I would just throw it in the bin in front of her, or draw her a new version, assuming your drawing skills have improved, of the exact same picture. Put it in a nice frame for Mother's Day. Sorry to say this, but your mom sounds like a psycho keeping a picture for 20+ years just so she can get back at you for something you did while you were 5 and didn't fully know what you were doing? What kind of person takes a revenge on their own child, especially after all these years? And she even admitted that she was trying to get you uncomfortable. It hurt me. So now I finally get to take a revenge against you and tell you that your child will make you uncomfortable too. Ha ha ha. Not the asshole, and sorry that your mom does this to you. Not cool. I hope you have other people to rely emotionally on. Give it back to her and tell her that it's her first lesson in what to expect about being a grandma. She isn't to do creepy things and needs to respect you as a mother. Not the asshole. It seems like your mom was so hurt by a picture that you drew when you were 5 that she is using it purposely hurt you now. Kids do say hurtful things when they get mad, or draw hurtful pictures in your case. But there's no reason for your mom to do something like this. Not the asshole. Your birth giver's ability to hold a grudge against a young kid is impressive though. You do understand that your mother is a right nasty one who will keep finding ways to hurt you as you move through the rest of your life.